packed a lunch? Because we're just getting started. According to the Blue Sage's notes, Lurkers have infested the swamp across the bay. Apparently, they're planning to use a dirigible to lift an important Precursor artifact from the muck. You're going to have to get over there to dislodge their tethers. Who knows what they might want with the artifact? But like orange stuff here's breath, it just can't be good.
Oh, Samos, always picking on Daxter. Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy. We're not going to be doing the Boggy Swamp today, because instead we're headed for the ancient Precursor City.
What are you doing back here already? I can see from the balcony that the Lurker dirigible is still floating above the swamp. You obviously haven't completed your task. Get moving!
One of these days, Samos, one of these days. Bang! Zoom! Straight to the unemployment center. But in any case, I mean what I said, we're heading off to the Lost Precursor City. Don't know why I said ancient a little bit earlier on, but whatever, it is ancient in comparison to everything else here, so off ski we go. Now, as Kira mentioned beforehand, although she's not currently present in the, Blue Sage's lab because now we have the required amount of power cells, but, oh yeah, we don't quite have enough Precursor orbs to unlock, the pallets to be let out. I mean, and again, it does kind of tie into my point anyway, so it was kind of fitting that I was sidetracked, because, yeah, we can reach the ancient Precursor City no problem, because, again, shallow water, Lurker shocks apparently don't like it, so that's our saving grace. A little bit less so when we try and head out towards the Blue Sage's machine that's there to move the boulder that Claw put in place, that being the name of the giant Lurker that pretty much blocked the path, and is pretty much causing all the people of Rock Village, so much guff. In the meantime, though, we pretty much just said, head out over there, get more power cells, and Bob's your uncle. Although, how exactly Kira managed to get over to the Blue Sage's thing without running into Lurker shocks? Anybody's guess, really. I suppose maybe she might be an excellent swimmer, but either way, so long as you stay within, those little reed-ridden areas down there, you should be golden, because if you try and tempt fate, like so... Yes, indeed. No, you can't get us, Lurker shock. Tee-hee hoddle ha, testing the waters. And, teasing sharks. By the way, recently in the news, there was actually a report about 3 people killed in a shark attack in Australia. So yeah, I mean, it happens a lot more often than you think around here, but, yeah, them's the breaks. In the meantime, however, let's descend to the Lost Precursor City, and, a place that Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric would later rip off in its entirety, without even bothering to hide its influence. It is a beautiful looking level, but, yeah, rip-offs of a rip-off of a rip-off. Although, then again, you might also be noticing its similarity in design, so particularly when you enter corridors like that, with some of the underwater facilities that you would have been swimming past in Crash Bandicoot 3, which, I don't know, I mean, again, I suppose it does make sense as have a bit of artist continuity, since, again, as I mentioned beforehand, Bob Raffay did work on both Crash Bandicoot and, Jak and Daxter, but, yeah, similarities in architecture. I guess you can sort of already see, Naughty Dog getting ready to move on from Crash, which, yeah. I mean, it couldn't be helped, I suppose, but then again, Naughty Dog themselves said that they pretty much did as much as they could with Crash, and the reason why they didn't try and hang on further with, Crash Bandicoot 4 as opposed to moving on to Jak and Daxter was a bit of a twofold thing. I mean, the first of which is that, again, Crash at the time was owned by Universal Interactive, and, Naughty Dog wanted to cut out the middleman and work with Sony directly. The second reason being, of course, is that they felt like they'd really done all that they could with the Crash Bandicoot formula, and, I suppose you could argue, well, Jak and Daxter is Crash Bandicoot, just with an evolved open-world style format. But, yeah, I guess they just wanted to go more of the heavy fantasy route, which probably would have clashed with Crash Bandicoot's, sort of Looney Tunes-esque tone, which, wasn't really one to be taken too seriously, so... Yeah, I suppose a bit of a conflict of interest there, but either way, I mean, I'm kind of glad that Naughty Dog did, decide to call it quits with Crash Team Racing as a final goodbye. Again, they knew when to end a trilogy. A similar case could also really be made for Jak and Daxter, really, where, again, they knew to stop at Jak 3, a particularly somber swan song, since Naughty Dog founders Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin actually did leave Naughty Dog after Jak 3 was complete. And then, of course, we got Jak X as a sort of going-away present, really, which is... again, kind of sweet in nature. Bit of a shame they didn't do that with Uncharted, but that was around about the point when Naughty Dog entered its lol so serious phase. During a time period where it was basically like, well, we can't exactly make Uncharted because, you know, Uncharted is a little bit too serious, and we make The Last of Us. You know, even though I think Uncharted would have been a perfectly fun game, and then again, like, I mean, it was somewhere around, like, post-Last of Us where Naughty Dog sort of lost that sense of fun, really. But, again, a lot of members have been and gone since then, and, well, them's the breaks, really. Although I will admit, again, like, I mean, it is kind of telling, really, because, I mean, I remember, I think it was, like, during the Last of Us Left Behind DLC, where I think it was, like, this brief cameo where you can go to an arcade and Ellie comments on, like, a Jack X arcade machine. It was like, her machine guns and cars, that's stupid. Which is, you know, fucking saying something, considering the fact that The Last of Us was pretty much abandoned after a terrible TV show, as well as a terrible set of games. Oh, yes, I went there. And I went there first, because if you remember when everybody was sucking its dick, I was slacking it off, and then everybody else hated it, and then it was like, well, kinda knew it all along. Bad boy sunglasses intact, and bad boy reputation succeeded. Acquaished. But yeah, to kind of talk about the lost Precursor city in and of itself, just more platforming challenges to behold, and yeah, there's not really much details in terms of exactly what these facilities really are, which is not necessarily something I consider to be bad in retrospect, but rather, I suppose really more of a hindrance in the sense of, you know, Jack and Daxter's more lighthearted tone, which I can't tell whether this was because, you know, Naughty Dog at this point in time were intending to go still for the more, you know, fantasy kind of thing, but just offer a more lighthearted sort of thing, or if they just didn't really have much of an idea as to what a lot of these facilities really were to the Precursors, because, yeah, much about this game is of uncovering the Precursor legacy, but we don't really learn all that much about them, apart from the fact that the Precursors are the architects of the world. You know, they created the planet, you know, they were responsible for creating Eco, they, you know, built vast monoliths in their name, and then disappeared. How exactly, we won't technically find out until Jak 2, possibly Jak 3 as well. And, yeah, in this game, it's really just more of a, well, really just more of a romp by way of training arc, because the series would later put it as Jak and Daxter train up to become heroes. But in regards to anything else, though, you don't really tend to get too much else in regards to what the Precursors are, or really what the story at large is, and there's not really much of a personal journey going on. I mean, again, there is the whole thing of, you know, Jak proving himself to be a hero, which is just kind of generic as all get out. Never mind the fact that he doesn't really have much personality outside of his brief interactions with Daxter as a bit of a cheeky boy. And, you know, restoring Daxter to normal, but really, apart from that, you don't really get much of anything here, really, so, you know, when I hear people speak highly of the Precursor legacy, it's like, oh, well, Jak and Daxter 2 had a midlife crisis, because they were dark and edgy, unlike the Precursor legacy, and, you know, you turn back to this game, and, you know, while it does have its own sense of style, its substance can be kind of anemic at times, and again, I can't tell whether this is because of Naughty Dog having a bit more of a design by committee aspect in terms of how they develop the Precursor legacy. And I guess to specify what I mean by that is that, again, there was a lot of extensive playtesting, Naughty Dog attempting to market the game towards a lot of different markets. Like, again, to use a bit of an example here, the spelling of Jak's name was actually taken from I believe the African spelling of the name, you know, so, yeah. Multiple different attempts. Again, they didn't quite get too anime, so, you know, they didn't exactly style it too much after that. They didn't want it to get too Disney either, so, you know, you have a few unique trappings here and there. And overall, it just comes off as a bit of a, I don't want to say a mixed bag, because it is solid enough for what it is, but it does come across as a little bit more, I don't even want to say milquetoast either, because I feel that, like, that's giving the game a bit too little credit, but, I don't know, it covers its bases, but by that same token, it's also not really, you know, doing much of anything to really sort of explore any of the characters or really develop the world. And, you know, in its design document and in a lot of content, there were areas where the game was going to sort of develop itself, but, you know, back to what I mentioned beforehand with the Kinetic engine, taking a long time to modify, then, you know, get all that ready for, you know, the actual game to function on its engine. Yeah, the actual coding and everything else sort of came late, so there was a whole bunch of concepts that just never made it to see the light of day, and quite frankly, It's disappointing, but at the same time it also shows how sort of anemic the game is, and the fact that it came off as well as it did, in terms of being a functional product, testament to Naughty Dog, but at the same time though, it comes across as not quite achieving the ambition that I suppose both Naughty Dog wanted it to be, and in turn, what a lot of the people who sort of goggle the game's cock really sort of make it out to be. And again, I want to stress that I do like Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy as a game, it's just that, I just feel like, again, for as flawed as Jak 2 and 3 can be in a lot of aspects, I still remember, like, a vast majority of what they did, and I still enjoyed a lot of what those games did story-wise, character-wise, and, I mean, even gameplay-wise. A bit more than what they did with Jak 1. I don't know. I mean, again, the Jak and Daxter series as a whole, like, I mean, again, they're very polished games, but they're also quite messy in a few other aspects, so... I mean, again, which was always sort of the charm with Naughty Dog, really. Like, I mean, again, they had their flaws here and there, but they were also, you know, good at what they did and knew well enough to polish a game so that, again, a lot of their flaws could be easily forgiven, but... yeah, sometimes some of those flaws, I mean, again, if you happen to like the game, you can just sort of skate by it just fine, but if you didn't, well, then, yeah... it basically turns into needle pricks and Lego bricks, and again, when you stub your toe on a Lego brick, oh boy, when you step down on it, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. I mean, again, not the end of the world, but, well, a pain in your toe and your foot, and it just sort of ruins your day, really. Just like those swinging ballerina baby things. Ooh.
Heimlich! Stretcher! Yuck. Revenant?
Oh yeah, I'm surprised I only took until now to actually mention this, but yeah, Daxter actually has death commentary whenever you die. I mean, I guess players are more modern tastes, sort of like in the Batman Arkham games, whenever you get shit-talked by the villain. Yeah, instead it's Daxter who pretty much peers over Jack's body and just gives a bit of a sarky remark, which is, again, always fun. But yeah, to kind of get back to the salient point I was trying to make about the Lost Precursor City before I rambled on and on, it's, yeah, you don't really get much of an idea as to what this facility was really about. I mean, was it a base? Was it a... I mean, I can only assume that this was a silo for Dark Eco, given what we discover in its undercurrents with, you know, facilities and pods to transport the precursors around, but, yeah, apart from that, you don't really get much in terms of context, nor additionally what you learn really what the precursors are. One might say we've already seen one of them, but, I stay my tongue. But yeah, for a majority of the game, all we really tend to get is just power cells and, just more milling about with trying to find Gol Acheron and, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm whinging about the game, and I'm honestly not, but, you know, these are flaws that I feel need to be addressed, so... Again, I mean, the game is good, but, 2001, compared to some of the other competition that was coming out at the time, I can see why Jak and Daxter, while, you know, more than deserving of its place as one of the best games of 2001, and, you know, big reason to get a PS2, you know, I can see why circa the 2000s, when there was basically a hit game coming out every week for a lot of systems, that, yeah, you would have been, you know, hard-pressed to consider this to be the direction the series took going forward. Oh yeah, slide surfing, dude! Yeah, and apparently despite not being able to penetrate those boxes regularly, you can apparently just slide into them. Oh, Jak, what do you like? In any case, this was very much the main precipice of what Kira wanted us to deal with, that being the, well, raising a part of the Precursor City, which is, a transport pod. Basically the Precursor's method of going to and from this facility to the surface, I imagine, so... yeah, nothing too bad, I suppose. It's just kind of a shame that we don't really get to learn much more about the Precursor culture, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, we do have a few of those statues, but again, all they really exist to do is basically be the, oh, I see a chosen hero must fight against the darkness, yada yada yada, blah blah, platitudes that... that's just a bit of a nothing burger, really. Nothing burger. Blah. Ooh, fishies. Now I'm in the mood for fish and chips. But yeah, in any case, we don't really have too much left to do, we just have a couple more power cells to find and, yeah, one little exciting escape sequence. Even though I continue to waste my health and not properly gauge my jumps as I hit the pipes, hit Dark Eco. Oh, poor Jak. He's not even actually wearing any shoes for this, all he has is like bandage wraps and like weird little sandals on his feet, so yes, our boy needs some proper boots for his adventuring days.
Oh my god, I had like a plus 55 to health hit points. Oh my god, nerdy.
I got a bad feeling about this. Jack, run! The dark eco is rising!
The water is rising. By the way, I'm getting... Again, I say I'm getting flashbacks to Sonic Heroes, but, yeah, actually, this is basically a much better version of the escape from the rising lava force from, fucking, what was it again? Central Station or whatever? No, not Central City, it was, Grand Metropolis? Fuck it, whatever. Either way, basically just run away and, oh, you know, if you could just do that. But yeah, do you get the whole cutscene? No, you don't get the whole cutscene again, so you pretty much just run away with the whole, the water is rising. By the way, I just noticed actually that, particularly in terms of some beta elements of Jak 2 that involved Dark Eco, I actually initially used that exact same symbol for the early part of the game, but that was changed later in development. Ah well, I'll explain what I mean when we get to Jak 2. In the meantime though, exciting escape sequence go now. But yeah, as I mentioned beforehand, and as we've seen plenty of times, Dark Eco in this case is pretty much a one-hit kill, so... Yeah, sadly, no, you will not be seeing Jak turn into a fuzzy orange marsupial, and, you know, Daxter will not turn into Dark Daxter or whatever. Oh, god, whatever the fucking hell the Lost Frontier was doing. Ugh. It makes me gag, and, well, simultaneously in a slightly less offensive, yet also equally as offensive means of, you know, Sly 4 Thieves in Time. Yeah, dragging out a series after it properly ended with Jak 3. And if you're wondering what that pause was about just there, that was very much me just eating some dessert at the time I was recording this. I actually had some delicious fig pudding. Delicious. But in any case, so onwards and upwards as we continue to, yeah, I think we only really have like one last place left to explore to get a power cell, and yeah, them's the breaks, we pretty much completed this area and can sort of dust it off for good, which... to kind of tie it back to the point that I was making earlier about this contextless place, yeah, I mean, again, areas like this should be some of the big draws of the game, and, you know, exploring hidden mysteries and civilizations that used to be, but, to be honest, you really don't get too much of that here, which is, again, disappointing. I mean, I don't really know what to say. Like, I mean, again, again, Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy, both the best and worst thing I can describe about the game is that it's basically a half step between, you know, simplistic Crash Bandicoot platformers and, well, you know, where the series will be going forward, really. But anyway, this pattern is really just sort of simple. Don't jump on the same, platform twice, you'll pretty much light them all up, then unlock the door, get a power cell, and bada bing, you do the thing. And everybody moves up in rank. There we go, power cell jingle. Now, you might be starting to see like a lot of the dance routines sort of, you know, becoming a bit samey at this stage, but they do varietize them enough so that it does never really, you know, outstay its welcome, and they do also make the collection of power cells in and of themselves, you know, as the key important objectives to, you know, feel important enough to get so that it does sort of justify the victory jingle, so to speak. Oh dear, how many other companies would utilize such things for gambling dopamine techniques? The answer would surprise you as more than you think. But anyway, these spinning pirouettes, again, they look like those little things that, you know, newborn babies ride in, like whenever their parents just sort of want to leave them alone, while ensuring that they don't wander away and smack their head into some panes of glass windows or whatever. But again, that's, I don't know, maybe that's what the Lurkers do to their young. Since, again, I suppose they are meant to be an organic species that's, wasn't created by Dark Eco, as I was initially led to believe. But then again, I think that might have just been a beta element that was cut for time. Either way, slide all the way back down here and, yes, power up the little orbs over there with blue eco. And then we will finally meet our destiny. By that I mean actually getting out of this place, and also being able to access the last power cell, which is actually right above us. Why it hasn't floated away with anything else is anybody's guess. We'll probably be getting a good view of it as soon as we jump on top, or if I look at it at all. Who knows? Maybe I just get a little bit bloodthirsty and kill all the Lurkers because they are enemies. But yeah, that's also the other reason why you usually have Daxter sort of bopping about. He's pretty much there to give you hints if you bumble about a bit too long. I mean, Daxter doesn't chirp in so often with the, you know, advice or whatever, you know, unless, of course, again, the game either sees you as having no other means to really sort of access anything, but, yeah. Again, Daxter's presence doesn't quite hit the same level of annoyance as one might think of, like, say, Navi from Ocarina of Time, or, you know, anything else. I was supposed to use a more recent example that came to mind because of Sir Isaac Fortescue when I was, you know, when I was responding to a comment he made on, I think it was like Mega Man X. Yeah, the earlier interruptions of Mega Man X5. Again, still don't find those anywhere near as egregious as a lot of other people, probably because they have, like, attention detention deficit disorder. But acquiesce, really. There's the power cell we need, so, let's get out of this dump. I hate this place, I hate it! But, then again, I mean, again, to kind of get serious for a moment, I don't actually hate this level. It's pretty cool atmosphere-wise, has some atmospheric music and, decent platforming challenges. Wish there was a bit more context in terms of story of the precursors or whatever, but... yeah, there was also a vast swath cut out of the game, and something that I'll actually mention just as soon as we get this little radio message from Kira. And, yeah, delving more into it as we go on. Open.
Wow! You raised a piece of the underwater ruins to the surface! It seems you can use eco in ways we've never seen before. A power cell surfaced with the room. Climb up there and get it.
Shut up, you're not the boss of me. But yeah, in regards to that, you know, boulder-bombarding claw up there, and I suppose I should probably be saving this for the boss, but, yeah, shortly after leaving Sandover Village, in an earlier version of the game, there was actually a cutscene that, I think you can still find on YouTube, albeit, you know, not properly animated, but they did at least have voice lines recorded for it. Yeah, where our two main villains of the game actually see Jack and Daxter as a threat, and then decide to, well, sick claw up on the rock village. Why exactly it was removed or not animated, I have no idea. I'd imagine it was probably cut for time, but by that same token, I guess you also have the redundancy of, you know, seeing Claw introduced in Rock Village itself, but, I don't know, his introduction is kind of unceremonious, really. But whatever. Again, that giant balloon as you saw in the background, and the same was mentioned all the way back at the beginning of the video, is where we're going to turn our attention towards next time. So again, as we pretty much traverse all the way back, yeah, we also need to get the pontoons back into place, so now that we have the Precursor orbs to do so, yeah. Next time on the Jack and Daxter Precursor Legacy Commentary Adventure Motron, yeah, we're going to be exploring the Boggy Swamp, the last area of the Rock Village, and, yeah, I think I might save the boss fight for a little bit after that, but in the meantime though, Boggy Swamp next time, and, yeah, in the meantime, we're just going to stop for a delicious meal in what I assume is the restaurant area of the bay. Catch you next time.